Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths, version 1.65.3.1. A lot of numbers there. Latest patch, and I'm just haven't put a video up From the Depths in a little while. Partially due to work, you know, does get in the way on occasion, but also I've been doing a fair bit of performance testing. Lately, some of the big battles have been annoying me and reducing the enjoyment and worth putting them on videos, just sheerly because of performance. So I've been doing the various bits of testing on the system, and I'd just like to show you what I found out and how I've been testing, and maybe get some feedback from other players to see what their performance is as such. So, apart from actually testing in-game in the campaign, most of my testing happens in the vehicle designer. So we just launch up the vanilla designer just quickly. Now the easiest test, and something which is repeatable by everybody, is if you just do load vehicle and then you go into your built-in, come into the side, click, there we go, whoops, and then load in, and there's two ships I've been using. One is an Alcazar, we can load in. And we go, there we go. And if I now come out of that point, because it's going to be doing its freaky deaky thing. And the other one that I find is a good test, I normally use these as test vehicles when I'm testing performance of a vehicle, is the Angry Chicken. Now the Angry Chicken has also got a couple of other good for performance, is it's got a lot of rotating blocks in here. It's got jets, it fires a few missiles, you know, it's a good all-round. The Alcazar's got some laser protection, so you've got laser beams, and it's just a sheer quantity of blocks. And what I tend to do is just get somewhere which is, I can see everything, and then you just press the F4 button. As you can see, that is now measuring the FPS. Now the important one actually is game speed. That can have a bigger effect than FPS. Often, you know, it's not the FPS, it's game speed itself. As you can see, we're actually running at half game speed. So if I just press that, we've got a rating of 0.55. It's a little lower than normal. Actually, I was getting about, on this setting, I think about 0.64 normally, so a little lower. Just gone down slightly. It's possibly it's just sorting itself out, and we just run that a few tests just to get an idea of the average FPS we're getting in the game. That's actually heading up a little bit. It's obviously settling itself down. There's something just it does tend to do that. It tends to settle itself down. Right. The other test I do is bring in some combat, and just to see what does combat have an effect. There's two ships I use for that. One is the good old Marauder, and we'll have a look at that. If I just bring that in under Deep Water Guard, Marauder, and then as soon as it comes in, just press your F4 button and just see what the game speed does with those. So as you can see, with the Marauder starting fire, we are running in degraded mode, and we can see that they are, yeah, they're going to be taking this out. But you can see the game speed's reduced even further, 0.4. My FPS has gone down. But I'll show you some other charts where I've done various testing. But okay, they are making their way through all of those, that Marauder, giving it heck, as you'd expect. You know, an Angry Chicken and an Alcazar should be able to take a Marauder out. If it doesn't, it's got a problem. I think they have changed the design of the Marauder, so the Marauder now has a paddle at the back. They've done a bit of change. It's no longer the Marauder that they used to be. Still got the big gun in the front, and one's here, but they've worked on the centre part of it just a little bit, giving it a bit of a cover and giving it this nice paddle at the back, which is also means it's a good test because it's blocks in water. So it's another good test for it. Okay, that's got delete removed, so we'll just do that. We're about a 0.4. So as you can see, just that Marauder with the combat just brought it down. So what are the settings I mucked around with and changed to try and get the best possible performance? Well, in the options menu, there's under gameplay 1, you have particle factors, bullet trail lengths. Now, I did muck around with those, and the difference between the minimum and the maximum for me was generally on that 0.1 or it was actually like less than 2 or 3% difference on the game speed for me between those two, certainly in degraded mode. And even in normal mode, it wasn't a great difference for my system. Degraded mode and not degraded mode, that does have a big performance issue or performance difference. Not humongous. If I now force it so it will not go into degraded mode, just to show you how I did this. So by setting this degraded mode down to 0, you effectively means it will never go into degraded mode. We'll always have the full mode. So we'll just run that as well. And we'll resume the game. Here we go. Let them stop firing at the dead marauder. So we had a, what was it, 0.4 previously. So you can see already we've got trails on the missiles. There's no more bullets on there. So, okay, we seem to have settled down. Just do a quick test. Yeah, we're at 0.6. You can see without any battle going on, we're about where we were previously. So let's just let that screen disappear. And here we go, another marauder. Where's that marauder? He's over here this time. There we go. And we'll put our game speed on. Right, so we've got some firing coming in now. So you can see it is having an effect, 0.36. And you can see the bullet trails now. Still not as significant. Going down a little bit, 0.34. So this is having an effect. I did say it was having it's not like a 50%, it's about a 25% difference in performance, depending on the missiles. Now I've noticed missiles potentially cause more lag than bullets and lasers. If you want the least amount of lag, go for lasers. Next lag is bullets, and finally missiles are the most laggy, unfortunately. And typically they're the ones I like. But okay, this is now not running in degraded mode, so we can see the difference in performance there. We're down to 0.28, so it's actually a little bit more. So depending on how you want to work out your percentages, like a third, yeah, it's 2/3 of the speed, or 25% loss. You know, it depends how you want to work out the figures. But so definitely running in degraded mode is worth it in general, and I tend to have mine set so it's just running all the time rather than switching. It just basically runs in degraded mode just about all the time. But the FPS doesn't change too much, it's just the game speed changes, goes up. Now graphics and the system I'm using, I did try. Now I don't know if this will work and whether the video will cut, but I did try changing the resolution. We'll just let this quick battle finish. There we go. Shot that. Very annoyingly, this little FPS screen, if I bring up a menu, it's still there. It's really bloody annoying because you can't change anything. I wish it would disappear quicker, or not, or be modally underneath. Okay, let's see. Let's go there. If we come up here and we go options and go video, what you can do is I did try going down to a 720p. Normally I run at 1080, 1920, 1080. If I go down to 1280, 720, we'll see if the video accepts this, and hopefully this will come out on YouTube. We'll see how it is, and we'll resume game. Now, basic performance, actually it's showing lower, but you know, it's close enough to be roughly the same. Yeah, it's actually 0.57 where it was 0.6. That's not very technical. It could be just some minor little change, but let's just put that battle in. Let's put the Marauder back in at the lower frame rate. And the marauder goes in. And we bring it up. Starting up a little high. Now we were at about 0.4 I think at the end of the battle, because they're not shooting yet. So where now they're starting to fire. There we go. It should go down a little bit now that there's a firing happening. So okay, you can see it's now heading back towards that 0.4 area. So the actual difference in resolution does not make that much of a difference to the game. In actual fact, it's going below. It's actually going worse than normal. We had 0.4 earlier. It's now going to 0.38. So yeah, resolution does not have an effect, or as much of an effect as people might think, or you might. So yeah, run it at the high resolution. So let me just put this all back again so I can be at the proper resolution. Now the other section back is how it works with the CPU and the graphics. Now I use two programs in my testing, and I do this with I'm doing lots of testing of machines. I've got a program called Process Lasso. Now I'm going to try and tab into it and see if we can see it. Now hopefully this comes out in the video. I use Process Lasso here. It shows you the memory usage and the CPU it's using, and various other average, and also very handily on a particular item you can change what priority it's got. Like here I'm running at high, and even which CPUs it uses. I've got an 8 CPU or CPU here, and I can define which CPUs. Now I've set it to 4 non-hyper threaded cores. I found that just seems to perform better, and I'm using now OBS, which I'll go into at the moment, for recording, and I've set that on different cores so they won't interfere with each other. But this is very useful program if you're ever testing, to see you can test it with 2 cores, all 8 cores. And what I have found, okay, is there's the difference between 8 core and 4 core was slightly similar. I actually found that 8 cores was actually slightly worse performance. Now I don't know if it was Windows was bouncing the process between the various cores in an inefficient way, but it had about a 5% difference running on 8 cores compared to 4 cores. 2 cores, yes, was also down, and 1 core, yes, just 1 core was was very poor. You know, you're down to a game speed in normal system was about 0.4, the same as it is in combat, just doing nothing. Whereas within a 4 core, it's about the average of about 0.6, 0.7 or so without the. So yeah, that's one good area. The other side is the graphics. Here you can see I'm using MSI Afterburner to show my graphical CPU usage. As you can see, I've got a GTX 670, which is an oldish card, a couple of years old now, but still quite good performance. As you can see, in most cases we're not going with apart from a couple of little spikes, which actually strangely is when you bring the menu up. With that there, I'll go back into from the depths, and we'll go back up again. Take that off. If I now wait for that to go up and bring the menu up, and now we'll go back into here. Yeah, bringing that menu up has pushed the usage up to 50%. You're still, you know, well within. There was a spec and 50%. If I try and go back into the game, there we go. Resume. Get out of the water, please. Thank you. And now I'll just try and get back again. We can see that without the menu, we're down to only a 30% GPU usage. So you can tell this is handy, because this means that generally on the game for me, GPU is not a problem, and that's interesting. You can see the game wise it's running at 21%, and which never really go. I've seen it at 22, I think, on the case. There it's gone to 22, but never really much higher, certainly not on average. So it's definitely the single CPU in this particular, it's CPU bound is the main priority. We'll go back to the game now quickly, just more interesting than watching CPU such. CPU lasso, or lasso. It's a lasso. It's a lasso. Is it a lasso or lasso? Oh, well. Anyway, processor lasso is the game program I'm using there. Very handy for if you want to muck around with programs, setting their priorities, etc. And checking how a program works and how much memory. You'll also notice on there, if I go back to it one more time, the memory usage. Memory usage on here does go up to 3 gig, but no really much more. I've not really seen it go much above 3 gig. So 4 gig machine could just be okay. Really you need an 8 gig machine. To be honest, on Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8 gig is now a well, I always suggest as a minimum for a game. Don't go below that. It's not worth it as such. So for those on low memory, 8 gig is enough. Just as a pushing that through. So just a word on the memory. Oops, there we go. We've gone into the water again. There we go. So processors. I am going to be doing some more testing, and also there's one other ship I do test against, which will run whilst I'm doing some talking, and that is the ultimate test of a number of blocks. If we go into Onyx Watch and bring in a Kingstead. Kingstead is about as big a ship as you're going to get. It's a very large ship. Waiting for it to spawn in. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. You can tell how big it is. It doesn't spawn in. There we go. We're now spawned in. Big ship. And we will run our game. Yeah. To get that check, it's press F4. If I didn't say previously, press F4 so we can see where our frame rate's down and our game speed is down to 0.3. They haven't started firing that. They're all starting to fire now. 0.31, so it's going down. So yeah, CPUs and some further testing I'm going to do. I'm not happy with the way that Windows is organising the prioritisation. So what I am going to do is, on the same system, is boot up my Linux and get this game working on Linux. I might do a how-to just to show how I got it working, assuming I do. How to get the game working on Linux, and what performance, if there is using exactly the same testing, I will do some performance metrics. The other side is the actual machine I'm using. Now currently my machine, built a couple of years ago now, is running a you saw it, there's an NVIDIA GTX 670 graphics card. I have 32 gig of memory, SSD hard disks. So generally that side's really good. I run CPU is an AMD 8150, running at 4 gigahertz. Now you'll get your Intel and AMD fanboys that will say, "Oh well, it's an AMD and that's all your problem." Blah 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 blah. I'm a horses for courses, and I have a budget on occasion when I'm creating my own game machines. And by personally, 99% of the games I play, everything from Arma 3 and Kerbal Space Programming, XCOM, Star Trek, World of Warships, World of Tanks, War Thunder, etc. All of those games all play with this particular setup at over 60 frames per second. I all have them locked at 60 frames per second. There's no point in going over it. My monitor only has 60 frames per second. So they're all locked to that. And also when I'm recording, I only record at a maximum of 60, for these games 30. So there's no advantage of having a more expensive. That also meant on my budget, I was able to spend an extra 150, 200 pounds on the graphics card, which allowed me to get a much better graphics card for the system in general. So yeah, that's why I tend to go for the AMD on gaming systems, purely because of budgetary constraints. Now I have got and I have tested i5s at the same time, because I do get a lot of machines come through to me because of work, and so I've tested some i5s, and the performance difference is negligible. It's all the graphics card. If you've got a good graphics card, 99% of games, it's fine. Unfortunately, From the Depths is different. From the Depths likes its CPU, it seems. So we're going to have to, and also it doesn't work with the multiple cores, so having 8 cores is no benefit to me in this regard. It's purely down to single core performance. And now I've got a couple of options. One is a 5 gigahertz AMD, which and overclock it a little bit further and just see what I can get out of an AMD, which is I might do just for the hell of it. Go up to a 8590 and just see what an 8590 will do as a comparison in this game and others. The other one is I've got possibly a new system coming in next week, which is a top of the range, fairly top of the range. It's for a different project, but I should be able to waylay it for this, shall we say, which has got a top of the range i7 and a nice 970 graphics card, water cooling, and all the other lovelies that everyone likes to hear about in games machines. So I'll be building that next week, hopefully, as long as all the parts come in, and then we'll test it again on that CPU, and we'll see what type of performance we get with an Intel i7. I think it's going to be a 4770K, maybe a 4790K if I can get one, with a which is going to be water cooled, and then as a EVGA GTX 970, also going to be water cooled, and we'll see how that all works out as the system goes, and see how that performs. So I just thought I'd give an update. So as you can see here, with this Kingstead, we're down to a 0.25 game speed. It's not too bad. This is doable. If there's the other area I found was a big difference is I've changed my recording software to OBS at the moment. I tried various everything from Fraps, Bandicam, Shadow Play, and a few others, and they were all having quite bad performance issues. They were reducing the game. Bandicam, which is what I've used in the past, was having about a 50% reduction to that game speed. OBS has been the least amount of performance hit for From the Depths. So I'll be testing it. Hopefully the sound quality is not as good, but for pure performance reasons it is a better recording software. So just thought I'd bring that up. This is going to go into the lab videos. As I say, I will be doing one more once I've got the Linux up, because that will be my next little experiment, getting Linux up and running on this machine. We'll go through what I did and how I do it, and how it, assuming it does work, I will post a video, and also do a little bit of performance testing of exactly the same setup we've got here. Also, I would be greatly appreciated if you do these sort of similar tests and let me know when you press that F4 what sort of performance you get, and just give us a rough idea of your spec, you know, what processor you've got, what graphics card, what memory, and just what you get. Maybe at this worst case, was it against the Kingstead or the maybe the Kingstead? Just go straight for this Alcazar Angry Chicken Kingstead. See what the frame rate is and your game time. Game time is most probably the most important factor, but anyway, it'd be interesting to see what type of performance people are getting from different specs, and this could even help the developers. Nick, if I once I've got it, I put it up on their board, he might be able to find where the best optimizations are within the game to get the performance up a little bit better, which would be beneficial for everybody if we can find those little bits that help the performance. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little performance lab and showing you what you can do and what to look at in your own system to get the best performance. You know, graphically, what does work for me anyway, and what hasn't worked, and just what you can tweak to get that performance up. So just to recap, key parts. I did muck around with, oh sorry, I should have said fantastic up to fastest, and because, put that back in there, because I'm not bound by my graphics card, I can run it fantastic, and it has next to no difference on the game speed. For me, anyway, because my graphics card is good enough. Okay, so that particular side, it didn't have an effect. Screen size didn't really have an effect for me. Again, graphically, not a problem. So the next state is in the gameplay one. Let's get rid of that menu. Bear with me. Go away, go away, go away, go away, go away menu, go away menu. Go away. And waiting for it to disappear. It's disappearing, yes. Bye bye, bye bye, say goodbye, bye bye. Okay, so the other side is in the gameplay one menu on the left hand side here, is particle factor. For me, again, because I'm not graphically bound, there was a difference between 1 and 0. I've set it at 0.2 at the moment. That seemed to be working. I still get particles, various particles, and it has a minimal effect to me. Bullet trail lengths only really has an effect when you're not in degraded mode. When you're not in degraded mode, that's how long those trails are behind the bullets. Again, if you don't want to run in degraded mode, reduce it a little bit. Again, 0.2 has been good. Now, degraded mode and non-degraded, as we saw previously, that does make a big difference between having it down, turning it off and turning it on. Now, I've set it at 40, so it's the same as my desired minimum FPS, and I'll go through that in a second. Just because it'd be better visually if it's always the same, rather than it switching halfway in between a degraded and non-degraded mode. So I've set it at the single value. Desired minimum FPS. Now this basically smooths down your, doesn't really actually have an effect on FPS, because as you see, I'm still at 13. It tends to smooth out the experience. The lower this figure goes, I'm going to put this down to 20, just as an experimentation for you, just to show you what happens. Now, if I go back into the game and press our F4 again, now our FPS has gone even lower. We were at about 13, we're now down to 7.5. But you'll notice the game speed has gone up. But everything is a little jerky. So the game is working out everything a little quicker, possibly because it's doing less calculations, because it's basically moving every object a little further before it does a calculation on the physics. So as you can see, the FPS has decreased in general, which is not good for videos, and you might not be able to see this, but it's very jerking, moving around. Certainly not slow, but the game speed's gone up. So we'll take this to the ultimate level, just as a test. So we're up to 0.34. I'll stop this for a second and let it just disappear off, and then we'll do a test at an even lower setting. Let's see if this is worth pushing to its ultimate level. If you wanted to have more blocks in the game, more battles, then maybe, so it doesn't take too long. This is what I've done in the campaign. I did get through some of the battles quickly. I start the battle off and then set this really low. So now if I put the desired FPS, let's put it down to 10 and see what this does. Resume. So as you can see, everything is a bit sort of jerk, and our FPS is actually down to 4. But our game speed is at 0.43. You can see the cannon fire and everything. They're sort of like jumping around in quite a big distance. So it's great for the game speed, i.e. the game is now running quicker and you can get your battles done faster. Because we're now from the 0.4 we were at, what were we at? About 0.25. Game speed, we're now at 0.4, so obviously the game is, and the battle will go through quicker. It's excellent if you want to just finish a game quickly and not worried about graphics, just want to get the battle over and done with. Go into the menu, change the desired FPS and we'll take it even further. Hopefully this won't screw up the whole video. Let's take this down to 5. That's the minimum we can go. Let's see what this does. So our FPS. Oh yes, there it's a bit slideshowy. Game speed. Let's just take that off, and then we'll go back in again. Otherwise, it's just averaging everything that's been done previously. This might even be too low. Have a look. Put this on. So our FPS is down to, as you can see, two or three. Actually, if I get a pack of cards and sort of like just scribble on it, but the actual game speed 0.4. So that's a little bit too low. It's actually of no real advantage there. Let's see, options, game speed. Let's push it back up to. Let's push it up to 20. See how that does. See if that's a. Stop that. So yes, so it's a compromise between smoothness of the game, less jerking in the game, and game speed, i.e. how long the battle takes to go through. So you can experiment with this to see how you want to do. Now, to be honest, if I'm doing videos, FPS 7.35, so that's a little bit better than it was. That might be a good setting now, actually, to have it on. So for doing videos, I want the FPS, to be honest, as high as possible. So 7 is still not good. A little jerky. Having it around the 13, 12 is much better. But the game speed is reasonable on that, 0.36. So the game is still working through. So that might be a reasonable setting. And this is how I've had the setting when I've been playing my game myself. I can move around, still see things quite nicely. But it doesn't take 3 hours to do a battle. It does it a little quicker. I have seen game times down as low as 0.05. It's 5% of normal time with some of the big Onyx Watch battles. So this one could be of a great benefit for you to get that game speed up if the battle's going a little too slow. And I may change this in middle of games as I'm going through. Okay, we'll do that. Quit that. Okay, so as said, it would be great if you could post your settings and your frame rates or game speeds down on the comments below. Leave any comments about anything else you think I might want would be good to test. This is obviously just for my system, and hopefully this has been beneficial. So until next time, keep playing and have fun.